Good evening, Dr. Carol and classmates. Today, Team Indonesia, which comprises of Aisha, Gladys, Stephanie, Sang-ho, and myself, Rida, will be presenting 4 books that explain difficult topics to children. Children and young adult literature have evolved from sticking to safe topics to telling tales of complex and unique life experiences in a way that is understandable for the younger audience. Young children are like sponges that soak in everything from the environment, and when complex situation arises before the child develops the ability to articulate their emotion, books can help them feel less alone and more at ease with feelings of anger, frustration, and sadness. We will be discussing 4 books that were written by Indonesian authors. They are Srinti by Sophie Dewayani, When It Rains by Rasi Narika, The Adventures of Nawila by Reda Gardiamo, and As If the Earth Stopped Rotating by Clara Ng. The first book that we'll be discussing today is called Srinti, written by Sophie Dewayani. Srinti was published in 2015, and the main themes of the book revolve around loss and grief. The book is targeted at children from the ages of 4 to 7 years old. The story is set in Yogyakarta, Central Java, and told from the viewpoints of 2 main characters, the older sister and the younger sister. The area had been devastated by an earthquake, and the 2 sisters find a doll which they believe belonged to their relatives that they had lost in the earthquake. This book deals with loss and grief, abstract concepts that can be difficult for young children to grasp. Unfortunately, children are not immune to experiencing tragedies, and they need to learn to cope with loss, death, and grief. This book is a good resource to explain and help children understand the meaning and emotions that come with loss and death. This book can also offer support and comfort to a child that is experiencing the overwhelming emotions of losing someone. An interesting point to note is that the colors used in the picture books are only black and white. This was deliberately done by the illustrator to emphasize the dark themes present in the book. On 27 May 2006, a 6.4 magnitude earthquake struck Yogyakarta and many lives were lost. The author noted in the book that not only lives were lost, but also things that people cherish were buried in the earthquake. The author wrote the book to help children of Yogyakarta to cope and deal with the loss of their loved ones. An interesting fact to note is how the name Srinti came about. Initially, the younger sister believed that the doll belonged to their other sister who had passed away and that the doll's name was Sri. The older sister, however, believed that the doll belonged to their aunt and that the name of the doll was called Santi. At the end of the book, the 2 sisters combined the names and gave the doll a new name called Srinti. These are screenshots taken from the book depicting the devastation in Yogyakarta. A final thought about the book is that the main storyline focuses on the 2 sisters fighting for the doll, and the themes of loss and grief are not fully explained in the book. A child reading the book may not fully understand the underlying themes and would need an adult to explain the situation of what happens during an earthquake and an aftermath of the earthquake. I will now pass on the presentation to Xiang Hong.
Thank you, Raida. The book I'm going to talk about is When It Rains by Rasi Narika. This book was first published in 2017 and later translated to English in 2019. It is suitable for children who are between the age of 3 to 7 years old. And When It Rains talks about Kira, who is frustrated at all the things that she can't do during rainy days. But things change when her friends Anna and Ilo invited her to explore the rain, and they managed to find joy through this outing. This is similar to how we can discover positivity even in the bleakest situation. Through the journey of the 3 children to meet new friends and make new discoveries on a rainy day, to ending the day with a hot shower and warm towels, readers are able to see things in a different perspective. The story began with the frustration of Kira on how she can't play in the park, can't read outside, or wear the clothes of her choice on a rainy day. However, when she was outside in the rain, she soon discovered that there are still things that she can do, such as meeting new friends and being able to see how umbrellas look like from the top of a building. As shown in this slide, this scene is depicted in colorful drawings that are brighter as compared to the screenshot in the first slide, where Kira is looking at the rain from her home. The children also wore colorful raincoats when they are outside that seem to symbolize that beyond the gloomy weather, it is still possible to find joy, and there is always something to look forward to. By seeing rain from a different angle, readers are able to understand that there are always two sides to a story. I feel that this book can provide a good learning point for children and encourage them to think differently when they encounter a difficult situation. Here are some points to note. The reason for writing this book is that the author feels that raining is nature's way to connect with her, as she stays in a big city that is very far from nature. She also felt that rain has always been misunderstood by many people, hence she wants to tell readers the things that can still be done when it is raining. And lastly, in the translated version, the original terms for mom and dad have been retained to remind readers of the origins of the book. Here are some fun facts of the book. A point to note is that the author has shared a map at the end of the book of Kira's adventures to help readers visualize it. The next book that I'll be sharing is on the Adventures of Nawila by Reda Gadiamo. This book was first published in 2012 and later translated to English in 2019. It is suitable for children between 6 to 12 years old. This is a narration from Nawila, a multicultural girl who lives in Indonesia. She's a bright, adventurous, and inquisitive girl who is never afraid to ask questions. So this book talks about her daily adventures. This book is written in Nawila's perspective. The illustrations are very detailed in monochrome, as shown in the slides, and although they were not colored, they still serve as purpose of bringing out the essence of the particular chapter, and there is at least one illustration in each chapter. In total, the book is made out of 34 short chapters that allow readers to understand the life of Nawila. It includes light-hearted events in her home, school, and her friends, as well as serious topics such as when she's on the receiving ends of racist behaviors in school, as her mother is an East Indonesian and her father is an Indonesian Chinese. It also includes her friend's tragic accident, which is dealt with in a sensitive way by her mother and herself. The many questions that Nawila pondered over are still very relatable to young readers of current times, although the storyline is based on life in the 1960s. Overall, this book is an interesting read that is suitable for young children, and also it can open them up to the Indonesian cultures because Indonesian terms were retained in the book and footnotes were provided to explain and translate them. It is possible to start reading from any chapter because the storyline is not linked, which is useful for younger children who are unable to concentrate to start reading from the first to the last page in order. They can pick and start reading whichever chapter that interests them. Here are some points to note. Although corporal punishments or sins of children spending their time playing outside might not be so relevant anymore in current context, but it is still a good way to allow children of current times to learn about them through reading this book. Here are some fun facts. So based on the storyline, such as the area where Nawila lived in or her food preference, there are guiding questions at the back of the book to prompt readers to do some writing or give their own perspective or opinions. I feel that this is a very good touch as it encourages young readers to write more. So next, Stephanie will talk about the last book.
Thank you, Xianghong. Hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie. I'll be sharing with you the last book, which is also a wonderful one named As If the Earth Stopped Rotating by a female writer named Clara. Some general information can be found in this slide. The book is published in 2008 in local Indonesian language Bahasa, and unfortunately we didn't find a translated version of the book officially. So here all the book title, including the individual story title I'm going to explain, are not official names. Also, in general, the book contains 5 individual stories, which each of them is telling a special situation that a child might encountering in their life. I will explain each of the story one by one in the coming page. While in these situations, it might not be very positive feeling for children, or the situation might set the child to be differentiated themselves from other of their peers. This book teaches children how to deal with special or negative feelings and events such as sadness, shock, loneliness, and helpless. The first story is called Twinkling Stars in the Sky. It describes the pass away of a family member at home. Clara describes the family member who passes away as a star in the sky that can route to heaven. She is trying to let the child know that it cannot be avoided if death is calling, and it is super normal if you are feeling sad, and it's the same feeling as your other family members. What you can do is also to pay more accompany with your existing family members and pray for the passed away member. The second story is called Tree of Hope. In the life or in a family, it could be the case that one of the family members is suffering from serious diseases, which can make other family members worried, and it also takes a lot of time and efforts for other family members to take care of the sick one. The Tree of Hope, which teaches children to understand what is an illness. This book can teach persistence, as it also shows how the sick sibling is being medicated and try how she is trying to fight with the diseases. It shows to the child that an illness is not a barrier for other family members to continue to provide enthusiasm and motivation and to stay healthy. The third story is called The Most Special. It tells the story of a child whose sibling has a disability. It tries to teach children to be more inclusive and should not show different attitudes to friends or relatives who has shortcomings. The fourth story is called Don't Forget I Love You. Tells about a separation of a child's parents. When divorce happens, most of the times children do become victims. However, Clara in her book illustrates that there is something about the separation between the two parents that cannot be explained in words, but it is certainly between them, not because of the child. And whatever the reason is, both parents will not stop loving their children. The last story is called A Thousand Friends Forever. Story trying to show the children that moving house doesn't mean losing friends. Instead, the number of friends will be increasing. And you can find out a new way of getting more and more friends and keep connecting with your old friends. Also trying to tell children that friendship are priceless treasures, which you will value for a whole life. So that's all the brief about the 5 individual stories in the book. Here I would like to make some reflections in the slide. One thing definitely to highlight and a compliment is that the story is very well written from an eye of a child, with the words and narrations include very detailed illustrated feelings from a child's perspective, which helps children understand their feelings, help remind them that they are not alone, and it is not only suitable for children who encounter similar situation in their family, but also help children to empathize more of other children who happen to be experiencing similar events in their lives. Finally, it also raises parents' awareness on these individual areas so that they are able to provide timely support to deal with their feelings correctly. And two improvement areas of the book also. Firstly, the suitable age group. Publisher is suggesting age 7 and above, which I feel rightly positioned. Well, I think parents who has kids about this age need also to be included in the audience group. Secondly, is about the main character setup. As the 5 stories have 5 different leading characters, the character design can be more diversified and more comprehensive. Currently, it is simply showing boy or girls in similar age with parents and siblings. It could be better if also including some other setups such as what kind of pet they have, what kind of house they are living, slightly different age groups, different hobbies, etc., etc. In this way, to really help more sense of resonation from the children. And here we also included 3 questions to help you kick off the discussion in the discussion board. Thank you very much for your active participation and time.